What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back in the video. It's Monday, so it's time for the Mock Draft Monday. Full PPR, 12 teams. We'll randomize anything from the 8 through 12 spot because we've done early, we've done late recently. If it doesn't give it to us, there we go. 12 spot, decent pick, although I'll say better in a best ball format. There's most certainly 13 top players. So when you get 12, you get that 12-13. In redraft, I think it's a little bit more even, and to be completely honest, you're still always going to want like a top 4 pick, top 5 pick in redraft, but it feels very even this year. It doesn't feel like anyone's going to win or lose depending on what pick they get. But for those of you who always ask, I would probably prefer 1 through 5, literally any of the 1 through 5, 6 pick totally fine as well. And then I think my lean would be in this general range, but again, not too much of a difference. Okay, start off the board. Jefferson, Chase, Bijan, Saquon, Gibbs, Lamb. Those will be the top 6 in all formats. Then we get Amon-Ra St. Brown, CMC, Genty, both go off the board. Puka and Neighbors are also gone. So how it's setting up for us, especially in a full PPR format, is we want the tiers, we want high drafted players. How it's setting up for us is a double wide receiver build. The running backs that I'd be totally fine taking in that round 1 are Bijan, Saquon, Gibbs, CMC, Genty. I think it's fine. We talked about the Achane news in the last video. Just the increase in value, even though they got Darren Waller, it is still an increase of value to Devon Achane going from Jonnu to Waller, because Waller is going to be used on this team, but is not going to have 111 targets. So you're expecting a larger target share for Achane. But regardless, I will not be taking him at this turn here. I understand the appeal, but I don't want to. The running backs close to the board who I'd go after, and if you don't get them, I would just double dip at wide receiver. So we will take Nico and Brian Thomas Jr. are basically the end of that top tier. I am not saying that London, AJ Brown, Ladd, JSN, all these guys, Rice, Tyreek, I'm not saying they're bad, because they're not. They're very good, but tier 1 is Nico and Brian Thomas Jr. Okay, so we take those 2. Wide receivers that go. Not a crazy amount for being full PPR. I would expect a run here kind of after. I mean, I guess, in redraft leagues, you're going to see running backs higher up, but still, I'm a little bit surprised that some wide receivers, a little bit more wide receivers weren't taken. But after us, AJ Brown, Drake London, Ladd McConkey, Garrett Wilson, Rashee Rice, Tyreek Hill, JSN, and T. Higgins off the board. A lot of running backs. So we do get the top 2. McBride and Bowers go off the board at tight end. We do get the top 2 quarterbacks, Lamar and Allen. Every other pick is a running back. Achane, Bucky, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Breece Hall, JT, Chase Brown, Kyron Williams, Ken Walker, and James Cook. So a lot of running backs go. The top running backs on the board right now are Alvin Kamara, Chuba Hubbard, James Conner, Joe Mixon, Martin Hampton. That doesn't feel like amazing in round 3, right? Like, I'm not saying these are bad picks, but in round 3, it feels like this has simulated us a very running back heavy grouping. This is, 2 people right here have gone Saquon, Derrick Henry, and JT, which is a pretty sick start, for being honest, for touches. And then Gibbs, Bucky Irving, Chase Brown. We've got 2 teams doing that. We've got 2 other teams that went 2 running back and then either a tight end or quarterback. So we've got 4 teams here who do not have a wide receiver. This is randomness, this baking in, which I like to see in simulators, because this will happen in some of your leagues where you're like, what the heck? I thought more wide receivers get drafted. Why can I not get a single running back here? The play is not to reach. The play is not to reach at running back, take way worse value than everyone else is getting. They've afforded you some value at other positions, so take it. It's too early for me to go tight end. I know Kittle is an appealing pick this season. I do have him at 39, but we're at 36. Probably not going to go in that direction, especially because we do have quarterbacks that have valued higher. We have wide receivers valued higher as well. Kamara is at 36. So if we were going to go running back, it would be Alvin Kamara. It would be a pretty big drop down into Martin Hampton. We would definitely not go anyone other than Kamara. So if we wanted to go Kamara, that's fine. I have that at value. We get a running back that, listen, is not going to have a million carries this season, not going to have a million touchdowns, because they could be the low scoring team in the league. They'll probably be bottom 7, but that should be variance from there. But the receptions. He's pretty much locked into like 50 to 60 receptions. And at a minimum, when someone is bringing in that many receptions, they're going to have a baseline value in half PPR, especially, but in full. Like, he's just, or half PPR, not especially, but still in half PPR. You can still bank on that production, but then in full PPR, you're just getting so much volume on those receptions that you really just don't even care about the rushing volume that much. And he's still going to have that because look at their backfield. I mean, it's completely putrid behind him. So maybe talking myself into Kamara. At quarterback, we do have Daniels and Jalen Hurts here. I have Jaden Daniels at 34. I have Hurts at 37. So right in the same range, and then Adams is right there. So currently it's being simulated correctly. Right now, my picks, top 33 all off the board, and then we have, or actually, I always miss this, Marv. I do have Marv a little bit ahead of Adams. I have him at 224.6 full PPR points, about 5 points behind or ahead of Devonta Adams. That is the other player. Okay, confirming that is the other player that we'd have there. So my rankings would have it Marvin Harrison Jr. at pick 28, Jaden Daniels at pick 34, Adams at pick 35, Kamara pick 36, Hurts at 37, which obviously we're not considering going two quarterbacks at this spot. So it's, do we take one of these three? We probably would not go Adams. I mean, Adams would be behind the quarterback. He'd be our fourth wide receiver in a format where, we're only starting at most three. And yes, I want to have four I feel good about, but those don't need to be the first four off the board. We have the on the website data that goes back a number of years, millions and millions of teams, and full PPR is what I have the most data for. And I can promise you, if you type in, I took wide receiver, it is going to scream at you saying, please do not take another wide receiver here. Other positions are more valuable. So or after like a fourth one, you can take the third, but the fourth one would be a little bit ridiculous. So I think the biggest decision is, number one, who's our favorite between Daniels and Kamara? Because we're going to be drafting one of them. Which one we prefer? And then from the one we don't want to Marv, what direction we want to go? I think you probably want to go with Kamara. What if the room just keeps going running back? You don't want your number one running back to be like Isaiah Pacheco in a full PPR league. Like, I don't know that would end up happening, but with so many picks that go by, it's going to be 22 picks that go by between us and our next pick. Like, there's some danger zone there where like you could avoid running back for far too long and then you're like really scrapping for everything. So I think you put Kamara on the team. You say, give me stable productions position. We're totally fine with that. If you wanted to handcuff him late, you could. So I think that makes sense. Between Daniels and Marv, my gut says Marv just because, again, there's so many quarterbacks that I like this season. Even from like a double dipping standpoint, if you want to double dip on this range of like Stroud, Lawrence, McCarthy, even Stafford thrown in there. Drake May, I love this season. I think Fields can be a good option, double dipping teams. If you want to take the upside of Caleb Williams, but even Penix, I would be fine with. Bryce Young, I'd be fine with. If you want to start the year with Tua, I'd be fine with it. You probably don't have to do that. But like there are so many, there's probably 23 quarterbacks I'm good with. I want to be getting great value. If you hear me say that a lot, and we're getting okay value, taking him at 34, but I have Marv at 28. So for me, I want to be getting much better value at quarterback. So we're going to take Marv and we're going to pass on Daniels. So the team, Alvin Kamara, running back, Nico, Brian Thomas Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr., youth at wide receiver, age at running back thus far. Okay. Decent amount of quarterbacks go. So that was our late third, early fourth round pick. We have the entire draft going by rounds 4 and 5. Daniels, Hurts, Joe Burrow, and Baker comes off the board. That one's interesting. We do not get Kittle and Laporta, and then relatively even for running back and wide receiver. Evans, Adams, Waller, McLaurin, DJ Moore, Travis Hunter, J-Mo, Metcalf, Olave, and Zay Flowers at wide receiver. And then Chuba, Omarion Hampton, Harvey, James Conner, Mixon, and Aaron Jones at running back. So it wasn't like the massive run we could have seen at running back, but even still, the top running backs right now are David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, Travion. Good running backs, but maybe not backs I want to rely on as my 1, because then my 2 is also not going to be that amazing if we keep going down from there. How do I have the rankings for running back right now? Travion I have at 1. We know he's an exceptional pass catching back, but also great pass protection, very explosive. We just know the Patriots are going to use him in a passing down role. They have a good win total, 8.5, but I do still think they're going to be trailing an okay amount of times. Better coordinator this season, everything kind of flows together. Obviously, the offensive line improvement. everything flows together to where it's going to be a decent season for Travion this year. And again, you're probably favoring him in full PPR formats. So Travion, definitely a good option. After Travion, we have, interestingly, Chuba, which I did not expect to see. Okay, Chuba gone, good. I don't like Chuba this season. I do have him behind ADP, and I guess it makes sense that he's not on the board anymore. But I thought Chuba was still in the option for us. I just don't like Chuba. I've talked about him a few times in recent videos. Just not excited about the receiving profile. A little bit scared that you know what happens sometimes, like mid game, right? Teams go with the game plan. Someone gets hurt, and they're like, all right, I guess we got to go with this guy because we got to just get out of this week and survive. You can view a season on a larger scale of that, and you can say, okay, on a larger scale, they were expecting Brooks to come back last season, expecting it to be a little bit earlier than he did. But then he comes back, and like, okay, we can finally use him, and then he gets hurt again. And they're like, okay, well, like we don't have a plan at this point. Like our backup is like Raheem Blackshear, like we have nothing. So they kind of had to ride Chuba. Well, they've had time to plan. This offseason, they bring in Rico Dowdle, they sign, or they draft Trevor Etienne. I think the plan is to use one of them as more of that passing down role, use one of them as that number 2 in a way that, like, I think his volume's going to decrease from last season. And then, you know, I like the Panthers, but they're obviously not going to be a high-end team. So, not in love with them. But again, we're obviously not drafting him because he's not available to us. But we're definitely going to take Travion. So, he'll be one of our picks. We'll just end up taking him. After Travion, running back-wise, we're looking at Monty and Swift. Judkins behind them, but like obviously if Monty and Swift are there, we don't need to go down to Judkins. I wouldn't touch quarterback at this point. Mahomes is first. It's Mahomes, it's Bo, it's Kyler. I would put Kyler in that tier 2 above like Purdy, Herbert, Caleb. But I don't think there's that much separating them. When you look at the bottom of that tier, Bo Nix down to Caleb Williams is 8 points over the whole season. It's half a point per game. It's not enough to warrant like a multi-round difference between the two. So no quarterback for us. And it's not a range I like tight end. Historically, we've just seen this mid-range is just a wasteland. You're much better off taking the top end. We know Bauer's going to be good. We know McBride's going to be good. We know Kittle's going to be good. I think you can maybe throw Laporta into that range as well. But for the most part, if you don't get the really, really top end, like in the data says the really, really top end is probably the top 3 this year. If you don't get that, just double dip late. And so we're not in a range I want to be going there. So no quarterback, no tight end. Wide receiver looks good still. And again, we're in full PPR, so we're anticipating that flex spot is going to be a wide receiver. We're looking at Tet and Devonta. Looks like Devonta Smith, Tet McMillan, kind of down to like Worthy after that. Sutton, I mean, you guys know I'm just not in on Sutton this season. I think, when you add in Evan Ingram, you just add in playmakers at wide receiver with Bryant. You maybe develop Mims a little bit. Like, the odds that he increases in value is very, very low. The odds he decreases in value is very high. And I know people are like, oh, well, they're bringing these playmakers, he'll increase in efficiency. He still had a pretty efficient season. Like, he can only go up so much in efficiency. The bigger risk is, well, Evan Ingram's going to have way more targets than the scrub tight ends they had last season. If he's losing even 1 target per game, that's a lot. And there's no guarantee off of a pretty efficient season that he's going to increase. He could even decrease with variance. So I'm not in love with it. Devonta, I think, carries much more of that contingent upside. There's no contingent upside with Sutton. Like, no matter what the injuries are, we know what the ceiling is, and it's not league winning. Devonta, obviously, like you see the A.J. Brown go down, he carries that league winning upside. In baseline, he's probably still as valuable as Courtland Sutton. I think last 3 years, he's outperformed his current ADP that he's at right now. And maybe the Eagles just kind of do worse this season, and that forces them to actually throw the ball in second half games because they weren't throwing the ball at all second half games last season. Okay, updated team. 4 wideouts. So we can probably chill for a second on wideout. We feel good about having Nico, Brian Thomas Jr., Martin Harrison Jr., Devonta Smith. I would say we're lacking a little bit running back, Alvin Kamara, Trayvon Henderson, but they fit the format really well. But I think definitely we want a running back at this pick. Still no quarterback, still no tight end, but again, not a range I want to be attacking. Tight end, quarterback, it would be fine. Kyler would be the last player in that tier. I have Kyler at pick 77. We're at pick 84, so a little bit of value there. In terms of running back value, would have been nice to get Judkins. We are looking at Caleb as the top guy. I decreased Warren a small amount with the news of Jonnu signing there. Not because Jonnu was a running back, but I don't know. They kind of view him as Arthur Smith might think he's a goal line back for a little bit there. Might honestly steal a rushing touchdown, which is unfortunate. But more the receiving. So we know that Warren had a good receiving profile before. And we know that Caleb Johnson does not. We know that Caleb Johnson is not going to be used as a receiving back. So all of his value is really on the ground. That doesn't get impacted too much with Jonnu being there. Again, it might be like one, I'm kind of joking there. Like it might be one rushing touchdown, but at the end of the day, like Jonnu's impacting the receiving. And so when you add in that extra playmaker in the passing game, it just decreases the receiving profile for Jaylen Warren. But it doesn't impact Caleb Johnson because I barely have him for any targets overall. So it's just not going to impact him much. So I think Caleb comes away being the top in the rankings. It's barely. I have him separated by a couple points. It's not that much. I'm not like some huge Caleb Johnson fan. I think there's definitely potential negatives to his profile. But I think we're gaining like a pretty strong baseline in touches with him. And I think the fact that they signed him indicates they don't really want Jaylen Warren to be in that role. If we also look behind really these two, I don't have much faith in Brian Robinson Jr. He's fine, and I think you can throw him into this grouping, but I'm not in love with him and definitely no receiving upside. But Travis Etienne, I don't have a lot of faith in. Terrence Tracy Jr. is definitely like kind of a reach at this spot. And then you're really getting into backups after that. So Caleb Johnson and really Brian Robinson are kind of the last two that are actually starting running backs available on the board for us. Let me do over 2 picks. We haven't used one yet. At wide receiver, there are good options, certainly. We like Addison, Myers, like Downs and Pittman, Debo. But again, that'd be our 5th wide receiver. I don't think any of them stand out enough to where we definitely have to go there. And then if I don't want to do tight end, I think this basically means take Kyler, secure kind of the last of that top tier. Again, I said I like a lot of late quarterbacks, but I still, of course, like Kyler. And we could double dip if we didn't like something late to add on to Kyler for some upside. And I think take Caleb. I think take Caleb Johnson. Pretty important, I think, to grab that 3rd running back because it's going to be very gross very soon. So I think that's probably our best play to do that. Again, updated team, almost on the starting lineup. We have a nice little stack for Arizona going on. Kyler, Alvin Kamara, Travion, Nico Collins, Brian Thomas Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr., and then Devonta Smith and Caleb Johnson. We've got 4 more bench picks. We've got tight end to go, and at this point, we're probably double dipping at tight end. So one of those picks is going to be, we have a tight end pick, a bench pick that'll be tight end. So 3 more picks that are not tight end on the bench. Probably want to take 1 more wide receiver and 2 more running backs. That's probably how I'd play it. So we'll go wide receiver. Well, we'll see what tight end is looking like soon. Because I guess we're at Mark. Mark, I finally think I have as a value here. I have him at 108. We're at 108. So this is the exact pick I have Mark Andrews ranked at. But also I have him 15 spots, it looks like, behind composite ADP. So whenever that happens, you're liking that. I do like Mooney as really like the last. Mooney and Egbuka are like kind of the last 2 of that top end of wide receiver. You can throw Golden in there if you want to, but again, Golden's more of a best ball play for me. I don't know that I trust any of the Packers wide receivers in a redraft league, so I would reserve that mostly for best ball. I don't know that I'd really attack them much. Golden would be the one you'd want because he's a 1st round pick, but I think Mooney and Egbuka are pretty clearly the top 2 wide receivers on the board. We could handcuff Travion with Stevenson. It's a pretty expensive handcuff. I will say, I think I was looking the other day on DK at the rushing yards over unders, and I think Stevenson had like 700 yards or something, which was way higher than I thought it was going to be. So very much hoping this isn't too much of a split backfield. It's going to be a split, but hoping they can kind of push in Travion's favor a little bit. But it would be, I mean, obviously he's one of the premier handcuffs in the NFL. We would kind of lock in that RB2 spot for most of the season. We should be able to kind of know who's going to be most valuable each week. And then, of course, if Travion got hurt, Stevenson would skyrocket in value. So it would be a nice handcuff, and I don't hate that. We wouldn't draft a backup quarterback here. So I think there's 3 options for us because I like Ibuka, but we're not going to go 2 wide receivers here. So Stevenson, Mooney, and Mark Andrews. Interesting. What do I have as the difference between Mark and... See, this is the problem. I have Mark at 143. I have Tyler Warren 4 points behind that. I have Loveland 6 points behind that. Wouldn't you rather get the guys at running back you want, get the guys at receiver you want, and double dip on these 2 very high-end rookies? What about Ferguson, Dallas Goedert? There's so many options that I like. I wouldn't hate taking a shot on Kincaid. If you really believed in Pitts, you could do that. I'm probably out at this point. But I don't know. I get it. But I think I'd rather double dip and just not do Andrews. Because Andrews is also going to be a tough one where you're going to feel obligated to start him every time. I feel take that shot. I think right now I want to take the shot on Warren Loveland. I want the double stack of Warren Loveland. See, the overwhelmingly likely outcome is that one of them is going to have a breakout at some point. And I'll just have both of them when that actually occurs. And who knows, maybe we get lucky and get someone else. But also, again, Ferguson I love. Goddard I love. So we'll have outs after that. And I think it's more valuable to us to take the premier handcuff, lock in the Patriots backfield, take Mooney, lock in that top-end wide receiver. I think it's just more valuable than we could have gotten before. Looks like most of the people we were talking about, unfortunately, at tight end, though, Jonnu, Mark, Warren, Ferguson, Goddard, all off the board. This team also very interesting. They ended up taking 7 wide receivers in a row. Then with a Genty Achane start, then with Lamar, and they took Waddle, Flowers, Pickens, Jawan, Diggs, Kupp, Ibuka. I think this is much more of a underdog strategy, or even last season. Last year, there were a lot of really good options at wide receiver. Personally, I don't like this as much this season in Redraft League. I think you're going to want a wide receiver a little bit earlier. The drop falls off sort of fast, and to have Waddle as your 1 in the 4th round, I think it's thin. I think if you're going to take these 2, you probably want to take a wide receiver after that, or just not start off with 2 running backs. Personally, again, I know it's a computer, but personally, I think that's wide receiver just falls off, and I want to have some high-end wide receivers this season. Okay, so a little bit unfortunate for us at 10, and probably would have been smart to take Mark Andrews at the last one, but we're still going to do okay. We still have Colson Loveland, so we're going to take Loveland at this pick. We still have the option for Kincaid. I think I would probably pass, though. I would take Loveland, take another running back or receiver that we like, then go back and take a tight end, because I'm cool with Strange. I'm cool with Isaiah Likely, Kyle Pitts. Again, Loveland we're going to take here. And then probably Kincaid and Kraft. I get good with really any of those guys. I could see any of them hitting. So we'll take Loveland as our top guy. And then who do we want? What do we say we were going to do? We said we were going to do 2 running backs and 1 receiver. So our favorite running back here, I like Tutin, I like Guerrero, I like Algier, Jaden Blue. Those are probably the clear top favorites. Leaning into Guerrero a lot more recently for the obvious fact. I didn't take McCaffrey in this draft. So if I want to win, I want to hope in this league that McCaffrey does not drop a nuke. And how does he do that? Is he gets hurt. I think Guerrero is pretty clearly right now the backup. He's highly explosive. He fits his offense really well. He would be someone you're starting every single week if there's an injury. So I like Guerrero. But again, I would be fine with any of really Guerrero, Tutin would pretty clearly be my top 2, because I think Tutin's really good. I think there's a chance that he balls out in camp if he can just stop fumbling. And maybe they trade ETN. Maybe he overtakes ETN. I think something like that could happen. Again, I don't think it matters too much which one you go with. I think I probably feel good enough about where we're at to say, give me the upside of Guerrero over him. I think that would be my play. Okay. After we go, a few more tight ends go, unfortunately. Tucker Kraft, Kincaid, Strange, Likely. Did everyone 2, 2, all right, 1, 2, 2, couple ones, a lot of double dipping at tight end. A lot of double dipping at quarterback as well. So interesting. I don't know. Maybe they updated something in the system where they're finally actually like doing that more now. But that's good to see. Makes it a little bit more realistic in the simulation. But unfortunately, it means we're getting Kyle Pitts. What's the bye week on Pitts? I don't think it matters too much, but it really is week 5, really. So Loveland and him both have the same bye week. That becomes more unfortunate because 5 is kind of a close time. If it was like 14, I wouldn't care. By that point, I figured it out. I would almost just say go with Hunter Henry at that point, like, because I think they have like week 14. Yeah, week 14 bye. Just because, I don't know, you're going to be forced to drop one of them by week 5. If it's not that far off between Hunter Henry and Kyle Pitts, you might as well just go that direction. You could also just say no, but I think in draft 1, but I think you want to draft 2 just because, Loveland hasn't even played yet. Obviously, he's recovering from the injury. He should be good to go in camp, but we don't 100% know that. And I would honestly feel fine if Hunter Henry is my starting tight end. I think the Patriots take a step forward this season. Like, I would be totally fine going into a season with Hunter Henry as at number 1. All right, so we do that. We go with the defense rankings. I can pull them up again for you guys. Broncos number 1, Steelers number 2 defense right now. And the rankings, again, I've not adjusted for schedule yet. I will do that eventually. Honestly, feel like the team grade sort of deserved. I feel like it was fine. Like, I don't think we like balled out in this draft or anything. I think we did okay. I think a big miss for us was Andrews here. And I think that was more just getting unlucky that like there was a huge run at the tight end position and they took all of the ones that we were wanting. I think ideally we would have double dipped with like a Loveland and Tyler Warren again, but it would have been nice to be able to go back and just say, okay, give us Mark Andrews this spot. We'll take out Mooney and we'll put in just like a different kind of low end receiver. It'd be a downgrade. Again, I like Mooney. I think Mooney's going to be awesome. But to be fair, we have Nico, Brian Thomas Jr., and Marvin Harrison Jr. plus Devonta Smith. What are the odds we're actually using Mooney? So maybe we should have made that call going there. I think we're good with how we played everything else, though. I think the double dip made a ton of sense for us. I think grabbing Marv, it's a full PPR league. I think all 3 of these wide receivers are going to crush it this season. That's going to be a headline of the roster. I think we get 2 pass-catching running backs, so I think that was also a good play. I think getting the end of that first tier of quarterback was a good play. I definitely don't think we should have gone with Jaden Daniels at the spot and missed out on, I think it was Kamara at that spot. I think that also made a lot of sense. So I think it was mostly the Loveland play. But honestly, after that, I think it's totally fine. We've got the upside of Kalen Johnson, Stevenson, and Girondo on the bench. We've got that good backup wide receiver, so we're going to be stacked at wide receiver. And we just play Hunter Henry versus Loveland, who breaks out, and then maybe we can stream a tight end if one of them does not. So I like the team, but I don't love the team. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Also, let me know, for those of you in the Discord, I posted a poll going over a potential change to the schedule. Please vote on that. Basically, the biggest change is there'd be more live videos. So we're going to be going live a little bit more often during the week. I think it would upgrade Mock Draft Monday. It would basically make it so you guys can join in. And even if you're not watching live, it's the same thing as a video, right? You don't watch the video necessarily at 8 a.m. Eastern when it comes out. But later on, you could watch me draft against actual people, and we would rotate, right? Like Mondays would be redraft, so we would do, we'd probably go over to Sleeper and do drafts over there. But we do rotations of like different formats on Sleeper against actual people. I think that would be interesting. And then I'd also like bring up the news, what happened over the weekend, how are the rankings changing, things like that. So I think Mock Draft Mondays would get upgraded. Tuesday would basically just change to, instead of the 6 o'clock live stream, it would go to sometime in the morning. I don't know exactly what time. Wednesday would just be added to. You'd have a normal video on Wednesday, plus you'd also get another live stream sometime in the morning for redraft leagues. So if we did like half PPR on Monday, we do full PPR on Wednesday. Thursday would be upgraded as well. You would get a live stream for Underdog there where you won't be getting a video normally. Fridays, you basically would remove that video. So Fridays, you'd remove the Friday video and you would have a live stream for a redraft league. And then Saturday would remain the same. You get the normal video. So for the most part, the only thing that's changing would be you would upgrade Mock Draft Monday. You remove the Friday video, but you replace it with 4 live streams for drafts. I think that's more valuable personally. You can come with questions, but again, you guys can watch these live streams out. You don't actually have to be there during the live stream. watch it after. I'll talk about way more players. We'll get way more strategy. And I just think it'd be better than the Friday video is really just talking about like 5 players. You know, we can just cover more players, get more content out there. But so far, you guys are voting to not do that. So we'll see. Go into the Discord, put your votes into there. I'll let it run for a little bit longer. I'll probably extend for how long it's running for, and we'll just see what your thoughts are there. Anyways, hit the like button if you are still here. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here. I'll catch you guys all on the live stream tomorrow.